Radhe Radhe. Thank you for opening the bridge. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. There.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Surya Prakash ji. How are you doing?
Fine, sir.
Good too. Recording in progress. What happened?
Two devices.
Somebody else.
Sanjay madam, today devotional song is there.
Yes, you want to sing?
Yes. Telugu.
Awesome. Yeah, we have time today. No hard stop. It will be awesome to hear you singing bhajan.
Kirtan.
Kirtan. Great, Surya Prakash ji.
Yeah, we look forward to that.
Thank you, sir.
So, did you join our celebrations, the Diwali celebrations, Surya Prakash ji?
No, I have seen in the YouTube, sir, in the link.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, we had a great time here.
Nitin ji definitely had awesome time, right?
Yes.
I would like to believe so.
There are evidences as well for that.
No, that's my brother, okay? Looks exactly like me.
You can't fool people like that.
That's my brother from the same mother. So my look-alike. He turns up for parties.
By the way, we will also have the cheering thing today. I just got to meet it, so I couldn't share it, but I think it will be fine.
No worries, yeah, sure. I'm going to give you around 8:45 mark.
No, there's so much time. That will just take 2 minutes.
Okay, 8:47 then. Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe Radhe, Vidhi ji. Radhe Radhe, Ajit ji.
Radhe Radhe. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening. A warm welcome. Hope you all had a great weekend. And good morning, good evening, everyone. Shamji, hope you caught our Diwali celebrations online at least.
Shamji, you're muted. Yeah.
And that
Radhe Radhe, Shamji.
Radhe Radhe.
How are you, Sandhya ji, Din bhai?
Good. How are you?
We are coming
How
off.
was your dinner date with Swamiji?
Awesome.
It was
I'm
awesome.
sure, as always, it has to be.
Not to be missed event. You should have seen some people dancing and like crazy, good food and whatnot, basically.
I
I
feel
can
like
imagine.
sharing some videos here only, no?
Please share so that I can just have some idea, glimpse. Maybe I can go back in time and enjoy.
Yeah, we can play that. No worries.
Okay, then we'll play it towards the end.
Sure, we can play
I
that.
want to share my story. Whatever things I have not liked now, since I can remember, Krishna made sure I do all those things.
Which things that you don't like,
All
you
the
said?
things which I didn't like in my life. Maybe whatever, studying, business, job, rentals, places. He made sure I do all those things quickly this lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's his plan.
That's how Krishna makes us learn our lessons, right? This is not a like or not like business, he says. Just accept whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
Radhe Radhe
learn
Subhamanyam.
the harder way, difficult way, slower way. We don't realize things initially. But I'm
Mhm.
surprised. I'm not surprised that जो हम लोगों ने काम अब इस उम्र में किया है, people like Sandhya, Hema ji, Shefali are doing such Urvi, such a young age. I sometimes feel jealous, envy कि यार हमें तब अकल नहीं आई. Maybe that's also God's plan.
Yep. No, they are blessed for sure.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Yes.
And in our next life, we'll be blessed like them as well, right? So,
Yes,
We are
I
blessed to
want
have
so.
you all. You all know much more than us. We don't know anything. And that's why we are always taking inspiration.
yeah, look at them now. They are humble also so much.
I know the way you push me now. Hembaji is also pushing me for the daily portal.
We will
Urvi, I
push.
do not know.
We
मैंने
will
क्या
push
अच्छे कर्म
you.
किए होंगे
We'll
कि
push you.
they all after me, and
We
I
will
feel
push
so
you and
blessed at times.
shake you out of your comfort zone and say, all right, work with
Yeah,
us.
true. Yeah, I so feel blessed at times कि यार मतलब somebody is there for me.
Yes,
Krishna
yes,
has made his own ways.
very true. We have a wonderful team, and their enthusiasm is so infectious that you will catch that. It is more contagious than COVID. So, let me say
Yes,
that.
yes, it is.
So, yeah, it's a great opportunity to do some seva as well. So, latch on to that opportunity.
Yeah,
And it is pretty addicting. The seva is pretty addicting. Once you start getting the rus of seva, you can't stop. You know, why didn't I jump into it earlier? That is how powerful seva is. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock, I believe. So, welcome, a very warm welcome. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you all had a great weekend. We certainly had a very eventful and a festive weekend, a wonderful dinner fundraiser that we had here with Swamiji, and you just had to be there to believe it. Okay, words you can't explain it. It was an electric atmosphere and very nice, in fact. We've got a big CIC building because last year we thought we will run out of space. So we have a big CIC building now, and believe it or not, that was also seeming very small. That much crowd had turned up. Okay, nice food and people danced away to glory. I don't know where do they get that energy from. And some people went crazy. I don't know why they went crazy, but that is how it was. It was a very nice event, all in all. All right. So happy Halloween and not happy Halloween, but Halloween is not something. I mean, there's nothing to celebrate about other than slaying the demons, of course. But welcome back, a very warm welcome. We'll get started. Today, we are going to discuss a very important topic. See the root cause of all the problems that we see. There are some aids which actually facilitate that process. And this week, we are going to spend a good amount of time understanding that. Right? It's only Bhagavad Gita which goes on to the length or depth of explaining something that if you don't get exposure to that knowledge, it's not something that will come intuitively. Okay, so we have to really understand the mechanics behind what's going on here, and then understand the higher principles dictating that, and then start making the course corrections as needed. So feel free to stop me. We will get into this theory this week, and if anything doesn't make sense, let's have a good discussion. It's important by the time we get out of this and get to the 2.63, which is anger, shloka related to anger, which Lord Krishna talks about. We understand this whole dynamics of what we are going to talk about. So again, warm welcome. Let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Okay, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening once again. So let's get started. I picked up 2.60 as we are going not necessarily in sequence, but all the important shlokas, all the key concepts that I wanted to cover as part of the chapter 2 recap. I'm picking those up so that before we proceed further, we have a common understanding around some of the important concepts. So let's get started. I'm going to recite it. You're welcome to follow along. Yatato hyapi kanteya Purushasya vipashchitaha Indriyani pramathini Haranti prasabham manaha. Okay. So let's.
Yes, Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Samji.
यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमादीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः.
Very nice, Samji. Radhe Radhe.
Surendraji, Radhe Radhe, please
Radhe
go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Prabhu, thank you. Yateto hapi kaunteya purushasya vipashyatya indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. Radhe Radhe.
Nice. Thank you, Surendraji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, can pick up the remaining hands.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Ramji, please go ahead.
Encourage all of you to recite it silently at your places. It's very auspicious to recite Bhagavad Gita, regardless. So, yes, Rahul, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yatato hapi kaunteya purushasya vipshitah
ఓకే నేను కొంచెం ఆకలేం కావాలి.
ఇంద్రయాణి ప్రమాథీని హరంతి ప్రసభం మనః.
Very nice, Rahul. Radhe Radhe.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe,
Radhe
Shyamji.
Yatato hayapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. Radhe
Very
Radhe.
nice. Thank you.
Off track.
Radhe Radhe. Okay,
Lakshmi,
4 or 5.
yeah, Radhe.
Yes, Lakshmi.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. Yatato happy kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramatini haranti parasambhamanaha.
Prasabham manaha. Very nice.
Sorry,
Okay, last,
prasambhamanaha. Okay.
last 3 hands. Let's take those.
Yes, Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Shramya.
Radhe Radhe. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasapam manaha.
Very nice, Shiramya. All right, last 2 hands.
Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Samji.
Radhe Radhe. Yatto haepi kaunteya purushasya vipashchita indriyani parmathini haryanti parasambham mana. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Samji. All right, last but not the least, Sandhya, go ahead.
Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha.
Great, thank you. Let's get started. So Lord Krishna is saying to Arjun, the senses are so strong. What is he saying? Yeah. And turbulent, O son of Kunti, that they can forcibly carry away the mind, even of a person endowed with discrimination and practicing self-control. Okay. He's made a very strong statement here right? It's like he's saying that people who carry a lot of discrimination, let's say they are very knowledgeable, they are at the very elevated state of knowledge, and they have been practicing austerities and self-control for a long, long time. Even for those people, controlling these senses is very difficult. It's almost like they are impelled by the force and these get dragged away. Okay, let's see why he's saying that and get a little deeper into this topic. So, it's like living on the edge. When you are on the edge, almost on the edge, and somebody just gives you like this push, not a good situation to be in, right? And some people are generally risk averse in life. They will take all the insurance policies and be 200% sure even before they take another step in life. Right? We are risk averse, and some people, they live on the edge. There are the two extremes of that, right? Today we are going to look at, there's a careless and an impulsive partner who's pretending to be our best friend, okay? And we have to put up with it. That is the irony of it, and that is what we are going to look at today. Okay, the beauty of Bhagavad Gita is that it actually breaks down things to the most fundamental level. No psychologist can take you that far. Sigmund Freud, he's the modern day psychologist. What he touches upon in his theories, it's barely scratching the surface of Bhagavad Gita, not even going a layer deeper. Okay, because of course he cannot, he's a human, right, and can't compete with God. So let's go deeper. Now let's start with this person's predicament. Okay, now here is a gentleman. Right? This is Kahani Ghar Ghar Ki, right? People who are married, tug of war happens. If you're married and tug of war doesn't happen, you can raise your hand. I'll be really interested to see how do you manage that. Okay, so we all know in every household there are quarrels at one point or the other, and at some places there are quarrels all the time. Now this guy, it is said that when two people always agree, right, one of them is not needed, and when two people always disagree, both of them are not needed. So we need to strike a balance between agreeing and disagreeing, right? Our partners. So anyways, now let's look at this man who has not one but 5 wives. And let's start with his wife number 1. He was brave enough to marry 5 wives. The first wife is the one, she wants to see a new movie every Friday. Okay, whichever movie is there, she wants to see that. And she would force him to go to the theater and watch that movie. That is the first wife, what her passion, or so to say, her tendency is, and that's what she craves for, and she needs his attention for that. The second wife, she enjoys good music, and she wants to go for every music show that's happening. Falguni Pathak is happening, she'll go there. Alka Yagnik is coming, go there. Whichever show is happening in the town, she wants to go and listen to that. That is so much passion she carries for that music. Okay, that is the second wife. Then there's a third wife, okay, just fond of food. Not only cooking, but trying out new restaurants every day. Let's go to the 101. Let's go to this buffet. Let's try that cuisine, all that stuff. She's just fond of that. Just look at the different interest each one of his wife has. So you can imagine what, this guy struggle he has to put up with. And then the fourth one, she adds to the drama. She says that I love good fragrant perfumes and flowers. So you need to bring me a rose every day and get me the best perfumes whenever you come from Dubai, because they are custom free, duty free there. You can get it for free. So that is her passion, trying out different kind of perfumes and flowers. And there's another one, by the way. This one is fond of teddies, that soft teddies and warm hugs. That's all she needs throughout the day. Give me a teddy, give me a hug. Okay. Now, what would you recommend to this guy? How to balance this out? Anybody has any recommendation? First of all, this guy is a brave guy, right? Who has married 5 wives here. But then, now that he's stuck, what would be your recommendation, Shyamji, if you are stuck in this kind of a situation?
Yes, Shyamji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe. First of all, such a great idea you have, and I do not know how do you think so far to have 5 wives, but any which way, my suggestion is just to ignore all the 5 wives and go with your own instinct. Otherwise, you can't survive. You will be out of your senses every Friday, I guess, or every day.
Good idea. They say the only way to remember your wife's birthday is by forgetting it once. Okay. And you are saying forget all of them here. So interesting. All right, Pallavi ji.
Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji.
Yeah. Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe everyone. Very interesting story, Nitinji. I have full sympathy with the person, and I would suggest that why not leave everything and go to Himalayas?
Go to Himalayas, huh? The wives say we'll also come along with them. Okay. All
Oh,
5
no.
of them.
Maybe they won't follow him because they want something else from life.
Mhm.
So they would not follow him, but he needs to run away from them for sure.
Got it. Okay. I think there's the common theme here. He needs to run away from them. Okay, that's what I'm hearing at least. Let's hear if somebody has an alternate opinion, some better
Sri
suggestion
Ramya.
to deal with these 5 wives.
Yes,
Sri Ramya?
Ramya ji.
Radhe Radhe. And this is on a funny note. I would say that if he feels like watching a movie, then go with the first wife, ignore the rest. And if he feels like going to the restaurant, and then go with the second and ignore the rest.
Interesting, Sri Ramya ji. Good luck with that suggestion. Okay, couple of other hands are there. Let's hear from them. Maybe I can take 2 more
Priya
hands.
ji.
Yeah,
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Priya ji.
Radhe Priya ji.
Hi. It's not funny. The person has kept 5 wives, so he must be willing to take responsibilities of 5 wives. Before getting married, he must have known that, okay, I am taking the responsibility. So once he has got married with each one of them, I think it is his responsibility to take due care. If he could not take any responsibilities, he should not have got married. This is what I feel. Once you get into one relationship, you should try to fulfill everything.
That's a great idea. You are invoking a sense of duty in the guy now. Very nice, Priya. Beautiful point. Yes, Imani? You seem very amused with this concept, but let's hear Imani, what Imani has to say.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Imani ji.
Radhe Radhe. This situation describes or symbolizes the situation we all are stuck in. So these 5 wives represent our 5 senses: taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. So I think we all are stuck with these 5 wives, and these senses, they pull us in different directions. So, and we have to strike a balance.
Thanks for stealing my thunder, Himani. So, want to think laterally. Very nice. Yes, Ratiji, you wanted to add something? No, great point. I'll get into that. Yes, Ratiji.
Radhe Radhe Rati ji.
Radhe Radhe. Continuing on Priya's sense of duty, I was saying that there are 7 days and there are only 5 wives.
Yeah,
so even they
so
can
unfair,
have
right?
1 day to 1 wife, and they are married. Actually, 5 wives are even related to each other. So obviously, they will kind of adjust with each other that 1 day to 1 wife, and then eventually
Yeah.
you get 2 days for rest.
Yes, correct. Yeah. If he had 7, things would have been easier, I guess, right? Just 5, 2 days off he's getting. So, but yeah, good point, Ratiji. Last but not least, Samji, and then we'll continue with our discussion. Yes, Samji.
There are 3 comments as well. Can I read them after
Yeah,
Samji?
sure.
Or?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, first Samji, Radhe Radhe. You can.
Radhe Radhe. He needs to be strict with all the 5 wives and tell them that I married you. In the first place, you knew that I can't be with all of you at the same time. 1 day for each one of you. But the rest 2 days are for myself, for my religious activities and all that. You need to be more stern with them. 1 day for one of you, 5 days for you, 2 days for myself.
Wonderful. What a compromise formula, Samji. 5 days for you, 2 days for myself. I loved it. Okay, great. So let's move on. Yeah, you wanted to read something, Sandhya?
Comments. Yeah. So Lakshmi ji says balance all the 5 and have a lovable control on them, similar to our senses. Champaji says similar thing, like I think it is compared to 5 senses. Keep control on these senses by controlling. And Surender ji says, having experienced 5 episodes which are illegal, he should go to the police station to surrender for the unlawful acts.
Okay. All right. So yes, let's move on. We got some interesting perspectives and lateral thinking around this as well. But yeah, like Himani pointed out, this is a story of our life. We are stuck with these 5 wives. In fact, I will call upon a 6th wife also. Somebody was complaining, right? Only 5 wives. So let's make it half a dozen. 6th wife is simply staring out of the window. She's not being taken care of. Okay. And she's the only wife which actually matters, okay, for this man, because that's the soul itself. She's neglected completely, but we'll get into that differently. But these are 5 senses that we are talking about, and they keep tugging us in different directions. Now let's look at how our scriptures are defining these 5 wives. Okay, let's move on. Right, you saw that the sense of sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. These are the 5 senses. Each one of these signify, and each one of us are stuck with it. So here are these horses, okay, and these senses are running in their own direction. They are not running in a same direction. They have their own objects that they get fascinated or enchanted with, and the subjects that our senses get enchanted with are beyond even our senses. You don't know which object will captivate your imagination or will attract you or allure you. Our scriptures say the sense objects are beyond our senses. Our mind is and are beyond our senses, and this is how the process goes. So let's just focus on this. So these are the 5 horses. The first one is the sight, the second one is hearing, third one is taste, fourth one is smell, sense of smell, and sense of touch. Now, what our scriptures tell us, they are driven by what? What drives them? There's an emotion or a word which is called 2. Lust and greed. These are the only 2 things that drive these senses. Okay, lust plus greed. And they are like wild horses, which are not tamed. Okay, that have been newly harnessed. Harnessed means harness has no control over them. They will run in the direction they feel running like. And they have been given certain complements. Okay, let's look at the adjectives that have been used in our scriptures to define these outwardly facing senses. Impetuous and reckless. Okay, impetuous and reckless. What is impetuous and reckless? I mean, these were pretty heavy loaded words for me. Let's look at it. Means impulsive, rash, hasty, spontaneous, foolhardy, risk-taking, rampant, forceful, careless, thoughtless, heedless, wild, uncontrolled, inattentive, irresponsible. Okay, so and you are stuck with that. Okay, 24/7/365. In fact, 24/7/366, because we have a leap year also. And you are stuck with these senses. Now think, you are stuck with these friends, so-called friends, and you are not even aware that they are taking you to directions which are impulsive, rash, hasty, careless, thoughtless, heedless, spontaneous, foolhardy, uncontrolled, inattentive, irresponsible, forceful, rampant. Somebody tells you, you'll say, oh my God, what's happening with my life, right? And we don't know it until we go through the scriptures and really paying attention to what's happening in this whole process. Unless you assume witness consciousness and really look at where your senses take you, you will not be able to even understand where these wild horses are running. Right? Kathopanishad gives a very nice analogy. We'll come into for that as well in chapter 3, but I will briefly touch upon that. These 5 5 wild horses. They are running in direction that are enchanting them or captivating them or alluring them. Each sense is running that. The reins is called our mind. Ideally, what should happen? The rein should be reining in the horses. What happens? The rein is following the horses. Then what should happen? The rein should be in the hand of the charioteer. Charioteer is our intellect, buddhi. Charioteer in this case is simply following the reins and wherever the horses are taking. And who's the passenger? Passenger is the soul which is sleeping. So our journey is, we have entrusted our journey in the hands of these 5 wild horses. And that is why they are taking us from point A to point B to point C, but not really taking us closer to our destination. Wherever these horses are taking, we are playing game too. So this process, spirituality, is all about reversing that process. The soul, the passenger, has to direct the charioteer. Right? The charioteer has to take control of the reins, and the reins have to direct the horses. This is the ideal cycle. It is just reverse right now. Right? Unless we start taming our mind, calming our intellect, and awakening our soul, which is getting closer to our realization who we are. So now this is the situation that we are in. Let's move further and look at some of the examples, how powerful these are. Now these are the senses we spoke about, right? Look at the directions they are taking. I mean, amazing. If anybody has done horse riding, you'll understand how difficult it is, but we are playing game here. So these senses, ideally, they should be controlled by our mind. Okay, here is our mind, which should actually be reining. How should it reining it? Like this. This is the direction, and the rein it should bring. And your intellect should be guiding your mind, and mind should have a rein to these horses so that these horses are going in a direction, like in a direction which is actually moving your chariot forward, not taking your chariot in all the directions. Whichever horse is dominant at any particular time, that direction will your chariot go. Sometimes the sight, the sense of sight is dominant. Sometimes the sense of taste is dominant. In some people, one sense is predominant anyways. So Lord Krishna is saying, this is basically the story of your life. You know, you are driven by these wild horses and you have no clue basically. You think that is the goal of life. Tasting food, cooking food, watching movies, right? Indulge in taste, indulge in sense, sight. That's all there is. Sense indulgement makes the sole goal of life. And that makes it a very, very treacherous journey in that case, because the passenger is being taken to all the directions without really understanding where it needs to go. Okay. So let's move on. Now let's look at why Lord Krishna is saying they are impetuous and reckless. Now he said that disciplining them is an important battle that sadhaks have to fight within themselves. This week we are going to spend time on, all right, fair point, you said that, but what do I do? Are you asking me to give up Rasgulla now or stop watching movies? No, I'm not saying that. There is a method to this thing, right? Your senses need something. And that is what we are going to talk about this week. How do you give it something so that it starts getting under control? Okay. Now, fight within themselves. Therefore, those desirous of spiritual growth should carefully strive to tame the indulgent senses. The first injunction God is very clearly giving, that indulging in senses is not the way forward in life. If you simply think about indulging in your senses only in this life, in human life, it's not a very smart strategy. We have to go a little deeper than that. Okay. Which are colored with lust and greed. It is actually the dominant emotion behind any of the sense indulgement is either lust or greed. And they have the power to sabotage and derail the spiritual process of even the most well-intentioned yogis. Now, who are the yogis? Let's look at an example just to understand this point. Right? We don't have the power to even meditate for 10 minutes properly. Now, here we are going to talk about a yogi of unparalleled concentration and spiritual power. We'll look at a couple of examples just to drive home the point. And this example is picked up from Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam relates a story that perfectly illustrates this statement. It's in Canto 9, Chapter 6. Okay, you can check it out. This story is of Saubhari Muni. Okay, Saubhari Muni, he used to meditate underwater. Okay. And once when he was meditating, doing his sadhana underwater, he saw some fishes mating. Okay, the sight. Now what happens? Because of that, now he got a desire as well. Okay, that desire arose. So because of that, he thought, okay, I'm going to marry now. And what does he do? Now he's a Muni. He's not physically appealing. Now what does he do? He basically, because of uses his yogic powers and happened. Okay. Yeah, so he uses his yogic powers and turns himself into Tom Cruise. Okay. A very handsome man, young one, not the one who has come in the latest movie. He turns into a very handsome young man. And then he goes to King. Basically, King Vandana, he goes to him, and then what he says is that I want to marry your daughter. So he said, of course, I can't marry to old man like you, and that is why he had to turn himself into a handsome young man. So when he turned himself into a handsome young man, first the king thought, he did not want to invoke the curse of this Muni. So he said, okay, I'm going to call my daughters tomorrow. Whichever daughter likes you, I'll marry you to that daughter. Okay, so the Gichi Muni, this guy, Saubhari Muni, he understood, what king is up to. So then what he did, before any of the girls could see him, he turned himself into a handsome man, and then he goes to the palace. And when the girls look at him, all the girls, they are head over heels looking at him, and they say, we all want to marry him. Okay, not one, all of them wanted to marry him. That is how handsome he became. And then he married all of them, basically, I think 50 daughters. And then from each daughter, he had 50 kids until a city was formed. City had been created, and he kept on living like that. But after a lot of years, he came to his senses and exclaimed, he said, Aho imam pashyata me vinasham. Oh humans, those of you who make plans to attain happiness through material acquisitions, be careful. Look at my degradation. He had that moment that where, what I used to do and where have I come? I used to meditate and perform penances and getting closer to him, and he was enjoying a bliss there as well. But one sense led to his downfall, and he's saying where I was and where I am now. I created 50 bodies by my yogic powers and lived with 50 women for thousands of years, and yet the senses did not experience fulfillment. That is what he's saying. They only kept hankering for more. Learn from my downfall and be warned not to venture in this direction. That is Saubhari Muni's story. Okay. Similarly, there's another story of sage Vishwamitra. Sage Vishwamitra story is there as well, where when he was doing his tapasya, he was the one who had actually given up his kingdom, because he thought life of a sage is much more fruitful, getting closer to the goal of life. So he had renounced his kingdom and he was doing his penance. And Indra, whenever somebody does penance, he becomes very insecure. He thinks, so he's going to take away my kingdom. And he sends Menaka to disrupt his meditation. And Menaka, who's Menaka? Menaka is the one that, Indra did, once God came in front of Indra, he said, I'm very happy with you and I give you a blank check. So what do you want? So Indra said, I want the most beautiful girl in this world, more beautiful than Indrani, who was his current wife. So he's also under the sway of senses. And that's what he asked. So God said, are you sure this is what you want? He said, yeah, that's what I want. So he gives him a long line of ladies in front of him. He said, pick the one you want. And he settles for the very first one he sees. That beautifully found Menaka. So God said, why don't you check the other one? He said, no, I'm happy with this only. So if God creates women for you, you can just imagine. And then he gets along with him and goes to Brahaspati, does his pranam, and Brahaspati asks, who is this damsel? And he said, this is what, God gave me a blank check and I got the most beautiful girl. And he said, what kind of a bhondu are you, You could have gotten anything, and this is what you got. But anyways, so he sends the Menaka to Vishwamitra, and Vishwamitra sage, his meditation is also disrupted. Just from hearing the anklets and the aura she creates just to disrupt him. So the point is, the senses, they are very, very strong. And is there a way out of it at all or not is the question, right? So let's look at it through an analogy. This analogy can be used at multiple places. So you see this elephant here taking bath. Nice bath he's taking, elephant. And after he takes it, elephant has to take bath because it has very thick skin and a lot of insects. It makes its skin very, very hot as well as irritating. So it has to take a very nice bath. And then after a while, what it does this. It rolls into mud and puts dust back on it. It has to do that because it's feeling that itch. Okay, that itch is still not cured. So there are two places where this example is typically used. It is called, by the way, Kunjar Shachavat. One is when we do sadhana or invest time in satsang, it is like taking that bath. But after that, if you come back to the world and start gossiping around or start talking to worldly people, then you are putting the dust back. So it is called Kunjar Shachavat. That is what we need to refrain from, because you have not really preserved what you gain as part of your sadhana. Okay? And the second aspect regarding this is because it has cured the symptom for the elephant. It has still not cured the problem that elephant is having. It is still feeling the itch, and that's why it feels like putting mud back on it. And that's what it does. And that's essentially the story of our life as well. We do things, people do puja part and stuff like that. They do. But then when they come back to the world, it's very difficult for them to maintain that state. And that is something that we can learn from this example of elephant around it. By the way, elephant is a very interesting creature. It has two aspects that are related to it. One, it has a very strong memory. So when it goes out, it eats big cabbages and mound full of food. It doesn't go back to the same place again because it knows people will be waiting for him at that place. So for 365 days, it has 365 different routes where it will go and find food. Okay? So talking about God protecting everybody or taking care of everybody, right from an ant all the way up to an elephant takes care of their food. No elephant dies of starvation or it could not find food. It can go on 365 different places throughout the year to get it food, so that no people don't disrupt its meal. And second problem that elephant has is, it's not the problem. Second aspect which is related to elephant is it has a big ego. Right? Like humans have a big ego, elephant also has a big ego. So what it does is, if you have thrown a stone at an elephant, even after 15 years, it can come and beat you up. Okay, if it finds you somewhere. So don't mess with an elephant. Now, from a spiritual standpoint, we have to really learn that how do we cure the symptom, right? And how do we make sure that whatever bath or cleansing process we have undertaken, we are not negating it by taking a bath like that elephant. And big munis, they also failed. And what is the way out? And that is where I want to open it up a little bit for the discussion here. That if you were to live with someone impetuous and reckless, we have already spoken about it, which is our senses. What are the tools and techniques to tame these reckless and impetuous senses if you were to use some? Is there any at all? And why do they keep coming back? Why is it so difficult to get over this? Let's open it up. But before I get into that, is there anything you wanted to show, Sandhya? We had a few interesting announcements for the today as well. We can go over that and then we can come back to it.
All right, so maybe I can go ahead and share that first.
Sure.
I'll start sharing my screen.
Sure. I'll stop share for a bit.
Just a minute. Okay, so you can see the screen, right? Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is to cheer the people who very actively participated in the last week in the session. So we had many people who were singing the debut bhajan. Ratna ji, Monica ji, and Golak ji. Kudos to you all. Shloka of the week was by Sairam ji, Kavita ji, Uday ji, and I think some of them were also speaking for the first time.
Very nice.
And we had amazing comment by Shyamji. We should anyway, we will be extracting that out and putting it in the community portal. I think that can be framed. And then we had another debut participant, Tia Ji. She had described a wonderful story that her father had told her. So for that, kudos to her as well. Next. These are all the people who kept their videos on in the last week. So thank you all for actively participating by also keeping your cameras on. We really appreciate it. That's it. I mean, there is a lot more to thank, and that cannot be covered today. So especially engagement in the community portal, and that will be done later in the coming week. So that's it with respect to cheering. I can also quickly make announcements about the upcoming events.
Sure,
So
and then we'll come back to, yeah.
yes. I mean, actually, one event that happened recently as well. Maybe we can. So we had an amazing Diwali gala dinner event over here in Dallas. Some of you, I think, might have also participated virtually, and it was with Swamiji. So all the way it was the sheer bliss, and all the volunteers here were also in a different state. Very surprisingly pleasing state. So we'll share some surprise video at the end of the session. And we have Tulsi Vivah coming up. So on November 4th and 5th, we have grand celebrations of Tulsi Vivah, where first we will have Haldi, Mehendi, and Lady Sangeet on November 4th. And on November 5th, we will have all the wedding rituals. So this will also be streamed online, and people who are in and around Dallas can also come and attend it physically. So post all the links.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Tulsi Vivah is going to be a grand wedding celebration. Like I said, we do it RKT way, and if you have seen it, you're going to have a thoroughly great time. Even catching up glimpses on online is going to be pretty amazing, and it is going to be a grand gala wedding. Okay, Lord Krishna's Bharat is coming, so you can only imagine how it's going to get celebrated. You wanted to show something? Let me show that. Okay, I'm okay because to show something, I don't know if it should be, but that's fine. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so you may see brother from another mother, no same mother. All right. So that was the entertainment for the day. Monica ji and team had put together a very nice dance performance, flash mob dance, and we had a great time with Swamiji. Maybe I'll put together some pictures together, a collage in the next session to show you some of the glimpses. It was a very nice festive event. Dallas whole year is like that, you can imagine. Although we are ladki walas, but we get to enjoy at times as well. All right. Now
the upcoming Tulsi Vivah, we are going to be both Ladki Wala and Ladke Wala, right?
Yes.
Baratis as well as Ladki Wala.
Yes, we're going to be from both the parties for sure. Great. Now let's get back to, and thank you and congratulations to all the participants who have been acknowledged. I would encourage you to turn on your video, participate, recite, sing. It's good, actually gives a good feel, to the group itself, like a close family we have, and would strongly encourage, if you are new to the session, take an opportunity to come forward, recite a shloka or introduce yourself. We'd love to hear from you. And we will make it a practice to acknowledge people who come forward periodically. And thank you for taking that initiative, Sandhya. All right, now let's get back to our discussion for the topic today that we are talking about our senses. Impetuous and reckless senses is what we are talking about. And how do we tame them, basically? Let's get the discussion going. It's a very important concept, so we'll talk about that. We'll continue to talk about it in the next couple of shlokas as well.
And just there was one question that was in the
Sure.
chat from Aparna ji. Are
Yes,
there
madam.
again tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic levels to these 5 senses?
Right. So based on your tendencies or sanskars will dictate your tendencies. These senses will go after the sense objects, which would invariably fall into one of these 3 categories. So if you have tamasic as your dominant guna, you will go for tamasic pleasures. These senses will go for tamasic pleasures, intoxication, laziness, drugs, all that stuff. If you have rajasic, then you will go for rajasic, spicy stuff, when it comes to food, just chilling out with a good movie, right? But if you are in tamasic, you may watch a violent movie or maybe some other kind of a movie. And if you are sattvic, then it could be something, you'll probably watch a documentary about somebody and things like that. So yes, the pleasures that you seek through these senses would have to fall into these 3 categories. Or you can do a nirgun where you're watching a lecture and trying to think about, how can I improve myself? How can I learn a nugget that will help me in my inner growth? Then it becomes higher kind of a pleasure that you are seeking through the same senses. Yes, I hope I answered your question. Any other questions on this?
No, that's it. So now we can start taking hands.
Let's take the hands. I can see 4 hands.
Yes, Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe, Shri Ramya.
Radhe Radhe. So if I have to map today's class back to the man and his 5 wives, so the best thing for the man to do would be to educate each of his wife the disasters of their afflictions, like disasters of watching movie every Friday or eating whatever comes, and in that way they could be controlled. That's the right thing to do.
What
Like
would you
to
do with each? I think you really like that wife story, right? Okay, let me get back to the wife part now. Okay, again. So these are
I was
5 wives.
thinking that the best thing, if I had to map what we learned today back to this example, the best thing would be for him to educate each of his senses. I mean, to educate each of his wives the harms of their impetus or their inflictions, like the disasters of watching movie every now and then, or disaster
Okay.
of
With knowledge you will try to control them. Understood. Great.
yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Okay, let's hear from others.
Abhishek ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Abhishek.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe.
So as Swamiji says that tolerance is the key. So we just need to bear the pain of the senses. Like if we see rasgulla in front of us, so like our mind says, I have to eat this. But if we practice controlling it somehow, then it becomes a habit and it will be very easy to as for control our senses.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is what's working for me.
Yeah. There's an Hatha Yoga aspect of it as well, right? Like Ramakrishna Paramahans, he was very attached to money. I think, yeah, he's the one. So he just took some money in front of him and said, Taka. Taka used to be, it's called money. Taka Mati, Taka Mati. He would do that, it's all. So that is how he trained his senses. Or I think, was it him? And there was another saint who was very attached to apple. So he kept apple in front of him and said, all right, I'll challenge you. I'm not going to eat you. And let it see rotting in front. So Hatha Yoga is one way of, restraining your senses. That's certainly a way to do that. Great point, Abhishek. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, Nitin, like only thing is like, is it
tolerate
okay to?
urge. You said you just tolerate the urge, right?
Yeah.
No, that's good. This is a good way of tolerating, harnessing, putting a harness to your senses. Yes, Himani.
Yes, Radhe Radhe, Mani.
Radhe Radhe. Today I was reading the explanation in the book when you were explaining, and I think your slides very nicely pictorially represent what's covered in the book. I have a question regarding the Yog Maya powers, like you talked about in the slides. I wonder what Bhagavad Gita says about Yog Maya powers, and I wonder how people develop such powers, like creating 50 replicas of the
So
same.
that is that is yoga power. You're not Yoga Maya power. So yogic siddhis. So Himani, you can actually write from telling about somebody by holding their cloth in hand, to reading their minds, to making yourself very small, to walking on water, to creating stuff. You can gain that. They are all yogic powers, mystic abilities, and they are still in the material realm. Okay. So that is all in material realm. In fact, in spirituality, it is said, be wary of these siddhis. People who don't have knowledge, that's where Tattva Gyan comes in handy. Because when people start getting mystic abilities, they get stuck there. So if you don't have the proper, and then other people will start coming, oh, this person has some mystic ability, they will tell, because these abilities are not supposed to be used for material purpose. Okay, they are a byproduct of your spiritual elevation. You keep rejecting those. So these mystic powers, you follow the process, you'll get those. They are just a byproduct of all that. So saints use that, but for a good purpose, right? They will understand the collective question of an audience and address that immediately. I've experienced it multiple times. What's going on in your head? That question gets answered by Swamiji. Immediately he'll pick up and answer it. They use it for a good purpose. But this is something which happens on this path, yogic path.
Got it. Thank you. But that's very scary if like other person can really read your mind, I think.
Oh yeah. It's see, if you don't think about it, God and Guru, they are noting down every of your action. There's absolutely no concept of privacy.
Yeah.
You think our thoughts are our own thing? They are noting down everything. And then saints, obviously they have that power. So, and even ordinary people can develop that. They are not God realized, and you can also develop that when you start uplifting yourself spiritually. So there are 8 or 9 level of siddhis that are spoken about. So that's not a big deal. But people, they start using those mystic abilities, and then people will start holding near their houses and say, tell us this, tell us that, put hand on our kid. They will say some mata has come to this person and all that stuff. That is not the purpose of getting those siddhis back.
Absolutely.
We have to reject those as well.
Sure. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Yes,
Monica ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Sorry, I informed you, Nitinji, that I had my office call. So now when I heard about Yog Maya and all that, I know that I have to listen to this on YouTube, because that's my favorite.
Yoga Maya is a higher power of God. These are Maya siddhis. When Yoga Maya power starts coming, you start becoming divine. So God has a Maya power and then a Yoga Maya. These siddhis are still in the Mayic world. That's nothing to do with Yoga Maya as yet. Okay. Yoga Maya is the highest power of God. So we'll talk about that concept in another session. But these siddhis, that's not a big deal. If you read a book, Journey Back Home from Radhanath Swami, I read that book. When he came to Himalayas, he met such yogis who would defy the laws of physics. How? They would levitate in air. They're sitting in the air and meditating. Right? And when you are in perfect harmony with your environment, you can manifest stuff. You can get stuff from your hand. You can create vibhutis and stones and stuff like that. That is a very normal thing. People reading mind is a very normal thing on this path. So for us, it's like miracle, but that's a normal thing. And that is again in material world. It is not that somebody has become God realized just because they have mystic abilities. Maharaj say Chamatkar ko namaskar. To impress people or to use, because you reduce that, and then it's not meant to intervene with God's laws anyways, right? Because law of karma has precedence over everything else.
Right. So I had a little technical question about food, Nitinji, because like food, jaisa tan, jaisa anna vaisa man, right?
Jaisa tan, jaisa an vaisa man. Vaisa tan.
Yeah. Okay. So this sattva, rajas, and tamas gunas, obviously there are like in type of foods, right? Nowadays in fast life, when we try and freeze our curries and then try and use it, so what category does that frozen food comes in, and how good it is to use it in everyday life?
As best as possible, you got to be practical, right? I mean, fresh food is sattvic, but you can't prepare fresh lunch every day, right?
Every day, yeah.
Then you do the best as you can, and then offer it as a prasad to God before having it. That's the best you can do, right? But
offering to the God. Yes, yes.
offer it to
that's the
God
best thing.
before having it, and that's the best we can do. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, we got to be practical around the current world as well, right? How will we get
Yes.
the fresh food prepared within 2 hours or 3 hours? I think there's a time limit. Jainis, they don't eat beef after that. But in
Yeah.
today's life, if that was the case, then Swamiji would be eating, mostly the tamasic food, if you think about it, and how much he travels. So, but does it impact his consciousness? No. This do have an impact at an early stages, and that too when you are hung up too much on these things. They do have an impact, but not to an extent. If you're actually progressing in devotion, these things get neutralized over time. Swamiji doesn't have control over his diet at all. Whatever is fed to him in whatever consciousness, he has to eat that.
Right, right. Okay.
We give
And
importance.
before,
It is important, but not as important as developing devotion for God as such. So.
okay. Thank you, Nitinji. And before we end up the session, if you could shed some light on Tulsi Viva, maybe the story for 5 minutes, if we have time. I don't know.
Tomorrow, because Tulsi Diva is still away. Okay, so tomorrow I will tell you.
Yes. I'm already flying there. Okay. Thank you, Nitinji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radha. By the way, she's Monica ji. If you saw the lady who was dancing in the middle, she was the one. Okay, everybody's saying who's that person. This is Monica ji, who was dancing in that Radhe 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 song. Yes, Kripa ji.
Dance
Yeah,
performance.
it was a very nice performance. Yeah.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Kripa.
Okay, Radhe Radhe. So I was going to answer this question, the 5 wives one. So I was thinking what he can do is he can like get some fresh flowers from the garden and then do Krishna puja, and then also light some incense sticks, and then like it doesn't have to be like only one wife, right? So he can actually put tika on all 5 wives and then give like all the fresh flowers, and also spray some rose water like they did in the Diwali dinner, and then she'll be happy with the perfume and flowers. And also maybe like at that time he can actually like put tika with love and hug each of them, so the second wife will also be happy. And then they can cook some really good prasad together and offer it to the Lord, and the third wife will be happy. And then they can watch Mahabharata together and sing kirtans together, and everyone will be happy.
Wonderful. I mean, that was very creative of you, Kripa. I think Krishna has taken control over your mind and giving you such creative solutions. Maybe you can become a good marriage counselor as well, right?
I don't know.
That was very, very well done. You achieved something which was mission impossible, but congrats for that. Good job.
Excellent point, Kripa. Like, I mean, I was literally thinking along the same lines, like just dovetailing all the senses
Dovetailing,
to
we
God.
call it dovetailing everything towards Krishna and God. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kripa, for that creative way of looking at things. Wonderful. Yes.
Swatiji, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Swatiji. These wives have
Radhe
intrigued a
Radhe.
lot of people today. Yes. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. What I would like to do, like convince all the wives that you do whatever you want to do to the God. You want to see God. You want to do puja, you want to smell, bring the flowers and put it in the lotus feet of God. So divert all your senses toward God and do satsang and do seva. So always the mind should get engaged in the seva and satsang, and with discipline, increase our love and bhakti towards God and not let it wander anywhere like that.
Great.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful. It's dovetailing. It's called dovetailing towards God. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about. We do need, our senses need some objects. That's what we'll talk about in next couple of sessions to go deeper into, because we need to have some solution also, right? You have stated the problem, but not given me a solution. And unless we have a solution, what's the point of discussing the problem, right? We'll get into that as well. Yes, I think Sairamji and Preeti as well. So let's take their hands as well.
There was a question from Ashutosh ji as well, if I can quickly read it. He asked, Radhe Radhe, does only food dictate the modes?
It is to some extent it does, right? Especially if you have a lot of Rajasic and Tamasic food, but then food does, right? They said like Jaisa An Vaisa Man, Jaisa Pani Vaisi Vani. So it does have an impact on our state of consciousness, right? But then It doesn't mean that you keep on having that food and then you do the best that you can. If you're trying to offer it as a prasad to God, of course, you'd like to have something good only, right? Not intoxicants and stuff like that. And you can't imagine if you're having intoxicant and those kind of foods and have a good consciousness, it will directly have an impact on your psyche as well. So yes, food is an important ingredient. But then we got to be practical around what we can have, how fresh we can have it.
Sai Ramji, Radhe Radhe.
Sai Ramji.
Radhe Radhe. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have to echo the same things that others have just said before me. That's all. I would indulge all of these senses in, Radhe Krishna. Let the sight see the most beautiful images. Let the ears hear the most melodious bhajan, and so forth. But the question is, once you begin to indulge these senses, even in Radhe Krishna, if you see an image that doesn't comply, or if you hear a bhajan that doesn't sort of go with the rag or the melody that you're looking for, what happens then? Because the emotions behind that bhajan or kirtan may be very good, but because we've indulged our senses so much in listening to something that's so melodious, the senses become averse to the same thing. So that's what I was kind of wondering. What happens at that point?
No, everything falls into those three categories only, Sai Ramji. Even the music falls into tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic categories. So one is the actual music aspect of it, and second is the intention behind it, right? It's a combination of both. So are you doing it for the sake of your enjoyment? Are you doing it because you're dancing for God? Or are you doing it for some other reason, right? So it's a combination of that. But music also falls into, if you look at some tamasic music, it will be heavy, jazzy, metal, which can agitate your mind. Those kind of music are there as well. Sattvic will have a calm, soothing effect on you, like sarang and all that stuff. So music also falls into that category. And these dispositions of our mind, it gets impacted, especially for a sadhak, it's very important to know that, knowing the signs and tuning into the right kind of a mode. So what are your intention is, what you're listening definitely has a bearing on what state of guna you will acquire at that moment, for sure.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Sai Ramji. Great question. We'll talk about the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas in more detail. There's a whole chapter devoted to that. So everything, right from our food to the charity to music and everything falls into these three categories. Everything in this Maya has to be in one of these three moods. Preeti ji, see your hand after a while. So let's hear Preeti ji.
Radhe Radhe, Preeti ji. Please go ahead.
Yes, I have a problem with food. Like I try my best to control my intellect and stay with it for 6 months and eating all this sattvic food, and then Diwali comes and here I am eating all this tamasic food with tons of sweet, and then my scale is back to the way it is, and I have talk to my intellect like thousands of times, but maybe it's a subconscious programming, and I would love to know the solution and how to control that.
So Preeti, that's the bad news. The good news is you are not the only one. And if you find a solution, please share with the group here as well. It has been a struggle for me as well. I told my parents and other, I've told never to send sweets here. They send the most exotic of sweets here around that time, and then next thing I know is the scale picks up, like you said. Yeah, this is one of those things we have to, I think if somebody has any tools around that, please do let us know. Share it with us. How do you tame your senses around sweets and stuff like that? I think it will be an interesting tool to know. Urvi has a solution for that. She has stopped eating junk, by the way. So Urvi, can you please share some of the tools around it? Maybe we should put it in the tracker that I'm not going to have junk today and see how many times I failed, right? Go ahead, Urvi.
Yes, Radhe Radhe, Urvi. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, I just wanted to share that what I used to control my senses. So I just see myself different from the mind. And obviously, initially your mind, craves for something which you're addicted to, like junk food. People are usually addicted to junk food, and then uh, okay, and then what happens is, you see the mind as a spoiled child, see yourself different from the mind, and then the intellect starts playing tricks. So you see yourself different from the intellect as well, and then you watch the mind and intellect playing mischief, and you enjoy it, and everything is controlled.
That's a lot of enjoyment you have created, Urvi. By that time, people would have put rasgulla, two of them in their mouth. So this is a good thing. So much of introspection you are doing and watching. That's a lot of witness consciousness. But yeah, keep it up. I think that's good. You have to arm it and just become a spectator rather than becoming a participant, right? Like you saw that guy who became a participant. You just have to be spectator at times, right? Not go and start dancing every time. Sometimes you just have to take a back seat and watch. And what we do is we start participating, and your mind says, it's okay, just once. After that is over, next time I will not have it. And by the time you realize you've already had it, that's how our mind plays mischief. But yeah, that tracker is a good way. By the way, if you want to do that PTG, maybe you can lock in your commitment, say, I'm not going to have sweets. And then put in, I failed. 3 times you'll see, it's okay, I cannot afford more failures now. So I think we need to figure out our triggers and figure out ways how to rein in those triggers.
Yes, absolutely.
Great,
Urvi. I mean, and just to add a little thing here, like one thing that Swamiji said, right? Whenever we know something that we are going to do is not right, best thing is just to delay. Try to delay, add as much pause as we can. Then it can help, right? So that way also we can try.
See, one thing that works for me is, I'll tell you one trick, small trick. When I know I'm going to go out somewhere and I'm going to get junk only, I eat before going so that I don't feel hunger pangs there. Okay, that's another way. You eat, fill yourself up even before going. So that works actually. And then I try not to have sweet things after 7, but I'm getting much better at it, but not completely. Okay, the other day, that rasmalai, whatever was that in Diwali, oh my God, that was so good. How can you not have it, right? You should not. Swamiji didn't have it, so we need to get to that stage. Yes.
Okay, there's so many people I think who want to give their inputs with respect to this question.
Sure, let's do that. Maybe we can cut short the other one. We can spend maybe 10 minutes and then wrap it up. By the way, tomorrow talk about the superior power we can tap into to control these senses. One is the Hatha Yoga aspect of it, and then we'll see the limitation of that as well. And one is a superior way of actually tackling it at the root itself, not just curing the symptom. And that is what we'll discuss in the subsequent sessions. Okay, let's take quickly, maybe a couple of minutes each.
And just wanted to mention, like Surya Prakash ji has volunteered for the devotional segment today, so we will have him.
Yeah, Surya Prakash ji will take you for sure. Yes, you did that. So
and Kripa had suggested one solution is not to weigh yourself.
Not to weigh yourself, yeah. Right, this guy Mark Twain said, I was horrified. Not Mark Twain, I think, yeah, probably Mark Twain. I was horrified to read about the ill effects of smoking. So I have stopped reading. I hope you got the joke. So I stopped reading. He didn't stop smoking, he stopped reading. Okay, Pallavi, go ahead. Thank you. I think few of you got the joke.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji.
Radhe Pallavi ji. Yeah, excellent class going on. So I wanted to tackle Preeti ji's question, what she mentioned about, like, indulging in too much of sweets during festive time. And the part, I'll just be very quick in that it is not going to be over. Now, it will continue going on until New Year, right? Now there's Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, year-end festivities, it will go on. So one trick which works for me is, first of all, do not buy too many things. Buy very little quantity. And whatever you buy, just share it. Keep only one for yourself and share it. Share it to your neighbors, your friends, your co-worker, people who come at your home to do the work. just share everything to everyone. If you have still more left, go to the temple, local temple, share it over there. So share as much as you can and keep only 1 or 2 for yourself. That's it.
Sharing is
And
care.
if you're cooking, do not cook more. Quantity should be very less.
Sharing is caring, yeah. Even if it is junk, please share it, okay? Makes it easy on you. No, that is a good content. Keep it less. But yeah, here, the way I look at it, we are all trying to cure the symptom around it, right? It's like comes from a position of weakness. It's like the story, right? Swamiji told that there was a guy who was looking at giving a part of his, of this thing, he was doing the morning Vandana. He had some rice. So he said, God, how much I should give to God and how much should I keep for myself? So he was debating, should I keep this for myself, this much for God, or this much for myself, this for God, and this and that, debating. And then a wind came and blew all away. And he said, okay, God, everything for you. So when you have power, let's say all the chocolates are lying in front of you, and then you don't eat it, then you have cured the problem. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time before you will lay your hand on all those sweets wherever you will find it, and then same thing. But yeah, Pallaviji, that's a great point. You keep it limited. That way, your senses will be forced to restrain. Basically, you can force them to be restrained. Yeah, great point. Yes,
And,
Kumarji.
I mean,
I
even
have a feeling
Swatiji,
you give a very funny solution to it.
Swatiji has also given a wonderful suggestion, which is the stronger reason that we can give ourselves that it is not good for health and it will take me away from my Sham Sundar.
True. Maharajji used to say, even when you have an itch, tolerate it. Tell yourself, Sham Sundar is trying to test me out, and just tolerate it, it will go away. And I've tried that a couple of times, when that sensation comes, just tolerate it, it will go away by itself. That's kind of an interesting way. Yes.
Yes, Kumarji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji, and Radhe Radhe everyone. This is a tested solution I can give. Where, I've not been a great fan of sweets except for rasgulla, right? Thanks to my Kolkata friends who used to always get me rasgullas, and that was one sweet I could not avoid, but not much fan. But the namkeens, I was a big fan. And how much ever I did, let's say I was working late and I would just go near the pantry and look at it, and then it'll say, just please get me. Take, have me. And I would tempt and fall to it. So the solution I found after several years was not to get any of them. Just not get any. Don't keep anything in the pantry. Don't make them. Right? Of course, I don't make any snacks or something like that, but I just don't keep anything in the pantry. If you see, everything is so healthy. I go there and say, I don't feel healthy, but then I don't have anything else. I'll come back. That's okay, right? So this is the best solution, out of sight, out of mind, right? Otherwise, you'll somehow get tempted some way or the other. Now, the other solution I found is exactly what Nitinji said. Before and all, whenever people used to call me for Diwali parties and all those things, it used to be in the late afternoon, evening, right? I'll just have a protein shake and I will not eat anything till I go to the party. And then I'll go there and stuff myself, right? And then I said, that's not helping, right? It's not helping for health. So I do have some amount of food so that I go there and I try to get the healthy stuff and all the stuff. That has helped a lot as well. Couple of solutions.
It does, for sure. Tomorrow we'll talk about seeds. Like you have a seed, you're not giving it nourishment, you're depriving it sunlight, water, and all that stuff. That is one way, but seed is still there. We will look at how do you burn the seed itself. Okay, so we'll get into that because that's important, right? Otherwise, it's just a matter of training it for. But the day it will get the fertilizer, sunlight, water, it will sprout back again. So you've really not cured the problem as yet, right?
That is correct.
Tackle it at the root as well, and that's what Lord Krishna is going to Bhagavad Gita. That's where the scriptures come in. So, okay,
I had just one request, which was reiterated to me by Shamji, that whenever all of us are interacting, at least then we can try to keep our cameras on. It just helps engagement.
Yeah, that will be nice if you can do that. That'll be
Okay.
much appreciated by Shamji and by me as well.
Okay, we have 4 more hands.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, Monica ji.
Okay, Radhe Radhe everyone. With my personal experience, I have a very bad sweet tooth. You keep sweet in front of me, I cannot control, for sure, right? But then the moment you tell your mind, do not think about monkey. The only thing it'll think about is monkey. So I saw a few YouTube videos where it showed that what junk and sweet does to your system. You know, they showed your digestive system and everything. So that thing, gave a hit to my mind that if I eat this, maybe for some time I'll feel nice, but this is going to be a long-term effect. And obviously everyone has different personalities, so something will work for someone, but this thing worked for me. So except when Nitin ji told me during Diwali dinner that Raj Kachori jaake khaiye, aap aise kaise chhod sakte hain? Only then I went and ate. Otherwise, I could have avoided that.
That day, Nitin ji was ensuring everyone is made to eat junk, no, and sweets.
That was my junk day, cheat day. So I made sure everybody does the same. It makes you feel less guilty when everybody else is doing it.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Let's take real quickly and then we'll get into, I know it's 10:14, so maybe real quick, a couple of hands.
Yes, Manish ji, thank you for turning on your camera. Radhe Radhe.
Sorry, I just got home. I'm still in the car. But for me, it's looking at the plus and minuses. So Shreya and Preya is what I learned from Swamiji's video and from the sessions. And, if I used to love sweets and chocolates, papada, gatia, you name it, but it caused cholesterol issues and stuff. So in May, the doctor wanted me to put on a small cholesterol medicine, 10 milligram, small dose. I said, no, let's try diet. So he put me on a low carb diet, but I also cut out saturated fat, trans fat, and I increased my walking from 3,000 steps to now I average 7 to 8 miles daily, 15 to 17,000 steps. So after I come home, I sometimes walk till about 11:30 midnight. So to get so it's just a commitment. And I also check the weight. So actually every few days I check the scale, because if it's fluctuating, if I have gained weight, then I try to control the next day to kind of bring it back down to stay in the same range. And just doing that has dropped like 33 pounds since May.
Wonderful. I think it will be an interesting thread on the portal where we can put in the tools that work, right? Before we get into the higher knowledge, how do you, wipe this whole thing off from your system itself? And Swamiji doesn't have to restrain. For him, one of the stages of bhakti is where the food is for your sustenance with a higher purpose. It's not that for you doesn't matter that point. Now, have you become boring at that point? I don't know. But that is also one of the stages in bhakti where you have food for subsistence and that's all you care for at that point. Advanced stages. Okay, Ratnaji has, and then Lakshmiji real quick, and then I know we are over time today. Ratnaji, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe, Ratnaji. I'm unable. Yeah. Can you please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I think I came across one of the videos in which they were trying to, the neuroscientists, they were trying to de-addict the smoking and stuff. I thought I could apply that to my eating and watching some web series episodes as well, wherein with every step that you take, like for example, if somebody is addicted to smoking, they try to like delay in adding the delay or objection in every step. Like for example, if they feel like smoking, like
wait for 2 minutes and just think about it. And then somebody just picks up the matchstick and waits for like 2 minutes. And then pick up the cigarette from the box and then wait for 2 minutes. Light it up and just wait for 2 minutes. So I think this kind of adds that frustration in the mind. And eventually, by a couple of weeks or something, it reduced at least by 40 to 50%. So that way we can keep adding a lot of obstacles or hurdles in the way of whatever you need to avoid.
Yeah, friction, add friction to that. Yeah, that's the strategy. But these are all symptomatic cures we will talk about. Yeah, they do work, especially if somebody is really serious about reducing a bad habit or getting over a vice. But we'll look at it from a spiritual standpoint as well. How do we get over some of these vices where you just lose interest? You don't even have to restrain yourself, right? That is, if that happens, how nice it is at that point. So we will talk about some of those things as well in our next sessions. But yeah, great point, Ratnaji. These are some of the things you could try. Basically, introduce more friction towards what you're trying to do. That would reduce your odds of having that immediate gratification, and may even, people say, instead of hitting that snooze, keep it far. Introduce so that you have to walk and find out where the alarm bell is and stuff, and then your sleep would be over. So those are kind of tricks that you can trick your mind for a while. Symptomatic cures, and that can become a habit as well. Great point. Yes, Lakshmiji, last one, real quick.
Yes, Lakshmiji, Radhe
And Surya Prakash, you can get ready next if you are still there.
Yes, he's there.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. I just want to share my regarding fasting. I used to be against of fasting, especially on Shivratri. When everyone is doing, I used to have my own tasty food, puri. I used to make and eat, and everyone used to, especially my in-laws, used to shout on me. Then now, recently, after joining maybe on this platform, after hearing the importance of fasting, and then I googled it, saw many videos. Then I thought scientifically as a doctor, what happens if you eat in the system? What happens if you don't eat in the system? So then I came to a conclusion that yes, every part of the body we are giving rest during the sleep or resting period or enjoying, but our gastrointestinal system is never resting. So during the fasting, so most of the blood supply goes to that. So when the most blood supply goes to that, the other systems are deprived of oxygen and blood supply. So our ability, our capability comes down. So once you give rest at least 1 week a day, whole fasting, either with little foods which needs less energy to be spent by the digestive system, then it takes rest and prepares more energetically to work in the next 6 days. So when that I got that concept, then I started doing fasting every Ekadashi, that is every 15 days.
Wonderful.
And absolutely, I'm doing well. I don't have that urge of think of eating that day. So now recently I thought, okay, why can't I give this food of my share of that day to someone who is in need? So I just want to implement that once I get healthy of my accident, which I'm taking rest in my house. Thank you.
That's
Radhe
good.
Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe. Thank you for sharing that. Fasting in general is considered good for health, right? Even if you do intermittent fasting, that's why it's picking up. When your body is resting, it is actually repairing, and we don't give it enough time to repair, right? It's like, I have done my job, I have stuffed you. Now I'm going to sleep, you do your job. And heart and liver, they start overworking, and one day they get tired, and then we start crying, right? Because our body has to work a lot to digest all this junk stuff that we put in. And if we immediately go to sleep, it's like torturing your organs, making them overwork just to cleanse all the toxins that you have consumed, right? So that way as well, it's a hinsa actually we are doing on our body, right? It's kind of a violence when you stuff yourself and just go to sleep. Great point. I think with knowledge, we can beat that. Knowledge is a very important, empowering thing, right? When you understand the deeper principles around what you're doing, right? Kind of a thing. That's a good way to impact that. Great. I know we are way over time today because we promised Surya Prakash ji. So let's invite Surya Prakash ji with a lot of claps, and then we do our bhajan segment, chanting, and then call it off. And tomorrow I look forward to seeing you again. We'll continue with this discussion. Good engaging discussion today. Surya Prakash ji, are you there?
Yes, he's there. I'll unmute him. And I just wanted to reiterate if maybe Urvi could start this thread, because I'm receiving a lot of messages in the chat
Yes,
that
this is
I
going
can't
to be an
read that.
important thread, Urvi, and you will
And yeah,
frame it in a manner, I know that people have to put in their inputs there. Okay, so let's
yeah.
get that.
So yeah, so whatever is in the chat, and whoever has sent those messages, please you put it on the community portal. It will benefit a lot of us. So I can't read it right now due to interest of time. And Surya Prakash ji, time for the devotional chanting. Radhe Radhe. Please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe Surya Prakash ji.
Radhe Radhe. I think I think I requested in the wrong day, I feel. Anyhow, can I sing, sir, or?
No worries. If you want to sing today, that's fine. If you want to do it, postpone it for another day, that's fine too. Your choice. We give you the complete power, Surya Prakash ji.
Means whether people are.
Yeah, don't worry. We are all eager to listen to
People
you.
are very, very tolerant and accommodating and very friendly.
Okay, now this is the Kirtan which is written by one of the professor in Annamaya Academy in Tirupati. Basically, this Kirtan says about the Krishna's glories. So, okay, I will just start it. It is one of the, of course, I cannot sing very nicely, but whatever I can make it, I will try it.
Yeah, let's make it 2 to 3 minutes, not long.
No, it little more, sir.
Okay, how much time will it take?
Maybe 3 to 4 minutes, definitely.
Please go ahead.
Because, okay, and because of Nitin sir, because you have given a lot of opportunities, freedom to whatever, either it may be shlokas or it may be, that's why I took the means I myself requested you.
Sure. Okay. Would you like to turn on your video or?
No, sir.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, sorry. Anyhow, at the end, I will do it.
Sure. All right, please go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, Rashi.
I don't know how to open it. Okay. భూమిలోన చొచ్చి సర్వభూత ప్రాణులనెల్ల ధీమసానమోసేటి దేవుడ నేను భూమిలోని చొచ్చి సర్వభూత ప్రాణులనెల్ల ధీమసానమోచేటి దేవుడ నేను కామించి సస్యములు కలిగించి చంద్రుడనై కామించి సస్యములు కలిగించి చంద్రుడనై తేమల పండించేటి దేవుడ నేను అని ఆనతిచ్చే కృష్ణుడర్జునునితో వినియాతని భజించు వివేకమా అని ఆనతిచ్చే కృష్ణుడర్జునునితో దీపనాగ్నినై జీవదేహములో అన్నములు తేపున నరిగించేటి దేవుడ నేను దీపనాగ్నినై జీవదేహములు అన్నములు తేపున నరగించేటి దేవుడ నేను ఏ పుననందరిలోని హృదయములోననుండు ఏ పుననందరిలోని హృదయములోననుండు దీపింతు తరపు మరపై దేవుడ నేను అని ఆనతిచ్చే కృష్ణుడర్జునుడితో అని ఆనతిచ్చే కృష్ణుడర్జునుడితో వేదములన్నిటి చేత వేతలచే ఆదినే నెరగతగిన ఆ దేవుడను వేదములన్నిటి చేత వేతలచే ఆదినే నెరగతగిన ఆ దేవుడను శ్రీదేవితో కూడి శ్రీ వెంకటాద్రి మీద శ్రీదేవితో కూడి శ్రీ వెంకటాద్రి మీద పాదైన దేవుడను భావించ నేను అని ఆనతిచ్చే కృష్ణుడర్జునునితో అని ఆనతిచ్చే కృష్ణుడర్జునునితో ఓవర్ సార్.
Thank you, Surya Prakashji. I personally couldn't understand it, but I know it was God's name, and that itself is good enough reason. God understands all the languages, right? So thank you so much for coming forward and taking the lead on reciting it. And I'm glad you could turn on your camera as well. So thank you so much, Surya Prakashji. Wonderful. And you would have taken time to prepare for it and wanted to share it with us. So very nice. Thank you again so much.
And
for
it
that.
is very good meaning is there. Means God is there in the earth and He gives the food, and He is in our body who digests the food. Like that it is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Surya Prakashji. In fact, you can put this bhajan along with the meaning at the community portal as well. And all
That'd be
this.
nice if you can put that. Yeah, just copy paste it. It'd be nice for reference. Great.
Thank you so much. It was beautifully sung.
Thank you. Have we come to the end of the session then?
Yes, Sri Ramya ji has raised
Ramaji, you
hand.
had some question or something?
I
Radhe Radhe.
say thank you specifically to the Kirtan session. The way we are encouraged here, irrespective of the language or who has composed it, just with the bhav and with the name of God, it really brings tears to my eyes. I've not seen this kind of Kirtan sessions anywhere, and thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. I know it's a new segment I've added. I personally relish it a lot. So thank you so much for that and for your enthusiastic participation. Have a wonderful day. Great rest of your evening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We'll continue tomorrow. We have a hard stop, but we'll continue on this interesting discussion topic until we get to anger management. That is going to be a very deep topic that we will touch upon later this week. So have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Good day. Good night. See you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.